Hi, I'm Kirk Rintoul, and today we're talking about the basis of legal descriptions, which, as you know, if you're buying a property in lawyer's office, we're searching title. We don't go by the municipal address, so if it's 86 Cherry Street, that's a mailing address. It's the legal description that counts, and those are on the documents that transfer the title, and we're doing our title search based on the legal description. Historically, province of Ontario, huge area in terms administratively, so it was broken down into counties in southern Ontario and districts up in northern Ontario. There were not cities at that point in time in the 1790s when people came out, and so people were essentially buying farms in what was called Upper Canada. And so the government of the day, they sent out teams of surveyors out, and they surveyed townships because the counties or districts were divided into townships. A lot of them were regular shapes, like rectangular. So I'm just going to draw the boundaries of our township. And the surveyors used something called a Gunther's chain, which was 66 feet, and they measured out in the townships big lines, which we call concession lines, and they ran like this. And they would do 100 lines, 100 chains, which would be 6,600 feet. That's about 1.25 miles. So this was 100. This would be the first concession. And then they'd do one chain here in between the concessions. They do another 100. Then they do one chain. That one chain is 66 feet. Then they continue all the way along here. And we're laying out our township. And on the old maps, they're numbered with Roman numerals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are not farms. These are very big pieces of property. What they did was they measured in the other direction, and they measured 20 chains, and they put in, these are lot lines, to divide this up into lots. And so they went this way. They also put road allowances in many cases this way as well. Your road allowance is 66 feet wide. And so they divide off our township into these original farm lots. These farm lots all the way along here. These farm lots are about 200 acres. Most people coming out before you had tractors and motorized machinery, 200 acres was too big a farm. People couldn't afford it, and it was difficult to farm that. So usually they would buy half of a lot or a quarter of a lot, which would be 100 acres or 50 acres. But this grid is our basis of the legal description. So if we're in the county of Simcoe, let's say township of Nottawasaga. You can't read my writing anyway. We go by the legal description, and we've numbered this the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and pretend that we've done all the way along. But this becomes the basis of our legal description. So if we're describing this piece of property and it's being conveyed, this would be Lot 1, Concession 1, Township of Nottawasaga, County of Simcoe. So the question is, what would this one be? Well, we're in the second concession, but it's numbered number 1, so this would be Lot 1, Concession 2, Township of Nottawasaga, County of Simcoe. And this would be Lot 2, Concession 2, and so on. So this is, your grid is the basis of the legal description, and this is where you're searching title from that legal description. I had mentioned that people purchased half a lot. So you might be buying the north half or the south half. So if you're buying this piece of property here, let's say north is up here, you're buying the north half, and that would be on the deed, the north half of Lot 1, Concession 1. This wouldn't be Lot 1. This would be Lot 1, Concession 5. Township of Nottawasaga, County of Simcoe. If you continue with the readings, legal descriptions become fairly complicated because people have irregular boundaries on property. As people moved out, farmer might have a couple sons. He subdivides the land, maybe buys a little piece of his neighbor's adjoining land. And so what we end up with is what's called meets and bounds description. And those are the boundaries described with respect to astronomical directions, but they commence at a starting point because once you start subdividing land, it becomes more and more complicated in terms of describing just a little piece of the property. So, you know, part of this farm might be conveyed to build a post office or something like that, or a school. And how do you describe that little corner of the property? That's where you would normally get into a more complicated meets and bounds description. If you continue on with your readings, it gets into plans of subdivision and reference plans, but these are all superimposed on these original lots and concessions. You may ask the question, what about cities? City of Toronto. Well, once the city boundaries, say City of Toronto starts down at the lake, it takes over part of this property, the legal description would change. So we no longer talk about the township in Nottawasaga. We'd substitute City of Toronto instead of that. And there could be legal descriptions with respect to a reference plan or a plan of subdivision, which we will be talking about in this course. Okay, thank you. And we'll be continuing on with the full essentials of legal descriptions. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to mention. The road allowances, 66 feet wide, are important because it's a road allowance, which means it's space to put in the road. They didn't have the money to build roads in a complete grid initially, so they only put roads in certain places, but they left room for the road allowances because they might put in a road and they wanted the freedom to do that. Why is that significant? Well, what if I built my farmhouse on the road allowance? It's not my property. It's a problem with respect to title because it encroaches on a highway, and even if it's in the registry system, it doesn't matter how long it's been there. You can't acquire title through possession by, you know, camping out on essentially what is a highway. You can never acquire the title to that by way of squatter's rights. No matter how long you've been there.